Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. You could be anywhere, but you choose to be with us, so we're appreciative. Today, we're covering the wellness economy. Now, this economy is a $2 trillion economy, and women are really driving that space. Spending is going up in the space, a lot driven by women. There's an increase of demand for specific tailored products in the space. And a lot of companies in the space are being led by women like yourselves who have built these formidable institutions and wellness products. Now, I want to start by saying, though, that there is a large disparity gap in the funding available to women, especially as we talk about venture capital dollars, business loans, and research funding. So I just want to ask you guys to start, where are we in the evolution of women's wellness as an investable market? Where would you say we are?
Can I just ask I guess there's a lot of noise in the room. If you guys can hear us, could you raise your hand just a second? Just raise your hand. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much. You go.
Okay, I can start. So as you mentioned, this is a huge moment in time where women's wellness, femtech has a ton of attention, and the money tends to go where there's money to be made. So the stat that I always like to think about when I think about women's health is that women are living longer. Men are living longer too, but women are still going through things like menopause at exactly the same age. So if you think about the amount of time that women are spending where they have endocrine deficiencies and hormonal deficiencies, it's longer. Mm-hmm. And what's incredible about that is that, as I said, the money goes where the money is to be made. So there's longer health span, longer lifespan to invest in.
And Sheila, yes.
Yeah, so we saw this at care.com. Right, that a majority of caregivers are women and women are living longer. But I thought I'd just share some stats with you. Women have been historically underserved because 70 to 80% of research products and clinical trials were built on male bodies. I learned this recently. I invested, I'm an LP in Muse Capital run by two women. Where's Howard? Howard's not here, but he should invest in Muse. But apparently they taught me that clinical trials did not include women until after 1993. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yet women control 80% of household spend. Mm-hmm. And we shoulder, as you touched on too, is that we're living longer, we have more needs, but on top of it all, 75% of caregiving.
Yep.
And we experience higher misdiagnosis and adverse drug events, and only 1% of healthcare R&D. Can you hear that? 1%. We're 50% of the population. 1% of healthcare R&D go towards women, and less than 5% of digital health VC funding target female needs. I mean, it is a problem, but I think people are waking up, opening their eyes. As Rachel said, we're following the money, and guess what? Women are making 80% of the decisions that are being made around spending. And we have a huge need in healthcare. So I think it's going to drastically change.
Okay, so I get that. So basically, the evolution still has a little bit of ways to go. And so I want to ask you guys, as far as your own personal journeys, what would you say were some of your biggest challenges as you sought out to build these companies that were marketed towards women's wellness and wellness in general?
I think I shared a little bit of the story when I shared my speech in the award that it continues to be the case. In 2006, when we went out to raise money, and then we eventually raised over $200 million, I felt very lonely and alone. And recently, last year, Melinda Gates had the vision to do the first ever Care Summit. And I was on stage and helped kind of open the event, and I felt very emotional on stage because I suddenly looked out at the audience and there were 400, mostly women, in the care industry, in the care economy. There were VCs, there were entrepreneurs, there were a lot of people, research, people interested in supporting. And so my journey, even though I felt very alone, back then. I think it is drastically changing. And the challenges, however, are still there. I think Howard got it right, where the stories are still, I get questions where I'm advising a female entrepreneur, and a male VC will call me as a friend because they're being direct. They will ask, is she going to be tough enough? Is it, is the grit there? Is she planning to have babies? Is it, the line of questioning, and I really would have to pause to my friends and I love you, but this line of questioning should stop right now. And it is still there. That's the sad part, and the biases are still there.
Yeah, just to echo, women drive the consumer economy, as we've covered, and the percentage of funding is still only 2%, and that number has actually gone down to even less than that. It's startling because you think that we're making so much progress, and you want to believe that we're making progress, but having incredible female-led funds, like where's Jessie? Where'd Jessie go? There she is.
We're investors. We're investors.
Yeah. Are going to change the game. And I do think that when it comes to women's health in particular, that is where there is opportunity, and that is where a lot of that gap will hopefully be made up, because men don't have ovaries. So, it's a hard thing to understand, and to be able to, have those conversations in a safe, supportive environment, I think is really important, and it'll change. But, these statistics are unfortunate. And, we're doing the thing, we're here, we're showing up, and we're talking about it. And I think Jessie, another shout out, spoke about it earlier, where, we have to put our money to work to see that change.
Can I add something too?
Yes.
The other thing that I've observed is there's a lot of ageism. I'm turning 55 this month. Thank you. I'm a grandmother. I can share you that. But the ageism is there, and it's real. I wrote an article, my dear friend Stephanie Mehta published it in Fast Company, that women over 50, especially women over 50, and what I want to encourage, because I'm looking around the room, whether you're in your 40s or 50s, if you're trying to build something around care-related, family-related, if you're a young woman in your 20s, it's not likely that you're going to build something proximate to that because you're not having kids yet. And generally, the advice is to get passionate, because it's hard work, is to be proximate to the issues. And so if young 20-year-olds who may be incredible AI engineers, and even as women, and there's few of them, aren't building this, then who's going to build them? Okay? And then if you're in your 30s and 40s, you're juggling a lot of work-life balance, and you're wondering whether you should be an entrepreneur, or should you scale back, or should you work in corporate? And so female entrepreneurs there are also in short supply. And so now, if you are looking around the room, are suddenly your experience, you've led, you've got access to resources, you can raise money, you're proximate to the issues, you care deeply about women's health, caregiving, families, then guess what? This is still an opportunity. It's not, you shouldn't be ready to hang your hat yet. We need you. We need more female entrepreneurs. We really do.
Okay, and so thank you for those responses. Now, we definitely have a better understanding of where things can still progress, but I'd love to know from both of you, are there any signals or signs or markers that you think are showing that the industry is definitely maturing in the ways that it should, in a way that you would like for it to mature and evolve?
I think that the increase in number of funds that are investing in things like femtech and women's healthcare, and just the attention to, research, which in my opinion is probably the most important place to put our dollars right now, to fill that disparity of information, right? With information, you can see opportunity, and we need to have that information to be able to make change. So, the research is happening slowly but surely. And it's because that's where the money is, and that's how our economy works. So I do think that we are at the beginning of seeing major change here, and I'm really optimistic about it.
I think the unicorns, Jesse's in 5 of them, right? And I think exactly what she said in her speech with such passion. Money talks. And so I think for many women, invest in other women. I think that's really the key.
And so both of you built your companies while also being family, building a family. And it's a really difficult thing to do. How would you say caregiving, workplace policy, childcare, reproductive rights, and all of this really shape the economics of women's wellness, like the economics, pardon me, of women's wellness?
I mean, you can't disentangle the two. I think we covered it earlier where women work 15 hours extra every single week for unpaid labor. And that takes its toll.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So I think that, seeing progress and seeing, the potential will carry us and create that extra motivation and resilience that we need to really see that change.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm doing it again. Care.com, the mission I had around the care economy was really that care is the work that makes all work possible. You can invest trillions of dollars and finish potholes and worry about bridges and all of that, but no one's going to leave home and get in a car if you don't have a great care infrastructure at home. You're not going to go to work, right? So the reason we work is because our loved ones are cared for. Right. And so now at Ohai, and this is the point, this is the data that Oxfam did in 2020, 4.8 hours of unpaid labor that a woman is paid. I'm not talking about the hours that we are not evenly paid at work, of the 8 hours. I'm talking about 4.8 hours per day. If we freed up 1 hour of the 44% of the workforce that are women, just 1 hour of that unpaid labor, $1 trillion of GDP. That's the size of 2 countries. So when someone says care is a soft issue that should just be personalized at home, I don't think so. It helps drive the economy. So at Ohai, we're just trying to free up that 1 hour. I'm going to do my starfish principle, right? Which is I just got to do it one thing at a time in my own little world that I'm trying to figure out what can I do to actually help families and help women.
And so I'm curious to know, as we think about like the larger macro, what role do you think policy or government maybe should play in financing the wellness economy, if any?
I think it's embarrassing that when we think about parental leave, we're one of the few countries in the world left where we don't have it. And I think policies and government can move a lot of needles. And I'm back to my starfish principle, and the hope that I try and focus on, even though we read a lot in the news, is as a builder, as an entrepreneur, what can we do in the private sector to advance things as much as we can to really work and now collaborate, right? And I really do think government can move needles, but at this point in time, if it means that within our power, we can actually innovate, create, and make an impact in the world and help people, where Rachel and I are up here as entrepreneurs, then that's the world that we can really give back and really focus our energy on.
And having more entrepreneurs out there, more women entrepreneurs out there who understand the problem firsthand, who can have creative solutions, not only that serve them. I was pregnant when I started my business. There were solutions that needed to exist that didn't exist for me. And I had both of my kids while I was building. And having that experience allowed me to come up with really creative solutions for my team. When people came back from maternity leave is just the beginning. You're still nursing, you're still exhausted, you're up all night, thinking about creative solutions alongside my team, where we called it our soft landing. We had to name it something. But, figuring out how to get women back into the workforce after maternity leave, yes, the government can definitely help. Our policies are inexcusable, but the private sector can make the first move here, and having more women in entrepreneurial roles and in leadership roles, I think will make a huge difference.
And just to build on that too, something personal. I got pregnant in college between my sophomore and junior year. And then when I was in grad school, my dad fell backwards and had a heart attack. And so I was sandwiched between childcare and senior care. And that became the inspiration for me to start a company called care.com. And we find when we're proximate to these issues, we're trying to figure out our own solution for ourselves. And you start to realize when you look around and find the love in your heart, you start to realize, gosh, millions of women are going through what I'm going through. How can I not be building? Why should I retire after care.com, though my body was tired, right? It's like, if not me, then whom? To kind of build and really serve and help people.
Now, in the last couple of minutes, I just, out of curiosity, I'd love to know, and I'm sure they would all love to know too, if you had $1 billion to unlock the next wave of innovation in the female wellness economy, where would you invest it and why?
I mean, this is not going to be a surprise, but I would invest it in research. I mean, to be able to, use the technology that we have available to us today to really understand how female organs age and what the impact that has on our mental health, on our brain health, on our vision, on our heart, on our skin, everything. Taking research that has been done on male subjects and redoing it. Right? Like to have to redo research that is like codified in medical journals. It's imperative.
I completely agree. For me, my focus has been on parental stress. Vivek Murthy, the former Surgeon General, actually had said that the number one epidemic, and I actually agree, in the next generation is that when we're stressed, the next generation is seriously impacted. The economies are impacted, our overall wellness and being is impacted. And so, and there is a lot of stress that we are dealing with as parents. And so research, absolutely. And I think we as women carry a lot of the weight of that parental stress, and our children feel it. And so the research, solving the mental load, really focusing on solving family issues. There's a lot of money to be made in AI, but if there are more women helping build things for families because you're proximate to the issues, it'll make a world of difference for the next generation.
Thank you so much, both of you. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much.